15 things rich dads do that poor dads don't. Regardless of any differences in our individual characters, nationalities, or biases, the one thing that we all share in common is a desire to enhance our standard of living. This desire is what shapes our actions, and the knowledge of how to fulfill it is the most valuable thing that a parent can pass down to his or her child. The only problem is, most people don't know how to truly become wealthy.
I need more money, Steve. Billy, I need more money.
For decades, businessman and famous motivational speaker Robert Kiyosaki has been trying to make the lessons he acquired in his journey from rags to riches accessible to everybody, and he encapsulated this concentrated wisdom in his best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In this video, we're going to share with you the 15 things that rich dads do that poor dads don't. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the ring bell notifications button to know whenever we post any new videos. Number 1. They know saving isn't the path to riches. The poor dad mentality is always slanted towards the absurd idea that saving money is the ultimate path towards financial security. If you understand security as keeping your bank account figures from falling, then you're right, saving can achieve that. However, that's exactly the poor dad mentality that we just mentioned.
I understand that! I understand that!
The rich dad would know that money that is kept aside is money bound for value loss. Because of constant inflation, the value of the $1,000 that you put in a bank account 5 years ago, even if we include interest, will still be less than what it was worth back then. Sure, if you want to keep a few bucks in a piggy bank as a safeguard for emergencies, but that should be it. Saving money for years to come is as absurd as trying to take care of your body by wrapping it up. If you want to keep your body tough, you take it to the gym. You invest in it. This takes us to the next point. Number 2, they invest like their lives depend on it. Imagine owning a huge fertile land and a kind of small supply of seeds. A poor dad mentality would go for saving these seeds and trying to add them whenever possible until there is enough supply to cultivate the entire piece of land. Rich dad knows better. As the poor dad waits to accumulate more seeds, the rich dad goes to the field and starts planting whatever he has. He then sells the crop, buys more seeds, and eventually the whole land would be blooming. Perhaps he would have enough money to eventually buy another piece of land, and with the experience he had accumulated, he would cultivate this new one with incomparable efficiency. Meanwhile, the poor dad would be sitting desperately counting his petty stock until the seeds are no longer usable or their germination rate stops. Going back to cash, if you want to play it safe and wait for the big chunk that will let you invest big, you probably won't invest at all, because in a few years, your money won't have the value you expected it to have, and more importantly, you'll be completely clueless about investment because you never tried yourself with the small amounts. Even if you had the money, you would most probably blow it away and be dragged back to the poor dad club in no time. Rich dad would take the cash crumbs he makes, no matter how tiny, invest these, get his returns, and more importantly, learn his lessons, and then repeat that process over and over and let the wealth grow. Number 3, they choose return on investment over interest. As we talk about investment, here's the reason why a rich dad would tell you that your bank savings are a pointless investment of your hard-earned cash. In the US, the highest interest rate you get on your savings account would be in the range of 1%. Some are even as little as 1/10 of that percentage. On the other hand, the same amount of money, say $10,000, which kept in a bank would accumulate 100 in interest over a whole year, would get you on average 10 times that amount if you put them in a worthwhile dividend stock. Even if you choose to invest as conservatively as possible, you can easily end up with a 2% annual dividend yield on your stocks, plus the investment education. The same applies to investment in real estate, bonds, commodities, oil, gold, or any other item of value you can grow your money with. Saving in the bank, on the other hand, is basically investing in money itself. And as we know, money is nothing but printed paper that can lose all of its value overnight. It's a loser's investment. Number 4, they choose their debt wisely. Some poor dads see debt as all good. They exhaust their credit cards and bank loans to buy cars, clothes, and big TVs that they normally couldn't afford out of their own money. They eventually find themselves crushed by the burden of debt and spend the rest of their lives trying to pay it off. Others find all debt to be bad. They would rather wait patiently until they have earned all the money to finance their purchases. These too are poor dads. Rich dads, in contrast, can differentiate the good apples that can nurture you from the bad apples that can leave you sick or bloated. Sure, credit that will finance your excessive spending habits is a destructive debt. There's no question about it. But a mortgage that you will use to buy property that will generate income, or a loan that you will invest in a brilliant business idea that will not only recover the original value but also leave you with a profit after having made your payments, is definitely a good debt. Number 5, they let money work for them. You can invest all your effort towards reaching your financial dreams, but at the end of the day, you only have 24 hours to put in. No matter what you can do and how much you can generate for every hour, you still have that cap pushing you down. Rich Dad would tell you that this is a total waste of your time and effort. The key to amassing a fortune is not in your individual effort, but in the number of people whose efforts you can buy in order to make money for you. The greatest mind only has the same 24 hours in a day, but an average mind, leading 100 people, would have as many hours as these 100 people have to give him. Number 6, they properly evaluate risk and reward. Since we talked enough about investment, there's this monster called risk that keeps the gutless poor dad from stepping up to seize the countless opportunities that come up throughout his lifetime. While he's focused on the risk, however, the rich dad has a plan to take down that monster in order to grab the treasure from underneath him. Remember that most success stories began with entrepreneurs taking steps towards a reward that is seen as a reckless decision by the mediocre minds around them. Like Robert Kiyosaki said, those who avoid failure also avoid success.
That's the problem. It's up here.
Number 7, they see opportunities in downturns. When the market is doing well and the economy is seeing prosperity, almost everyone makes relatively well. The big fortunes, though, are made in the harsher times when the market is crashing. That's when getting in needs real guts, but the returns can be huge. We're talking about stock market crashes or general recessions. That's when everyone holds on to their money and only a few far-sighted people are able to detect an opportunity to put their money into and wait for the recovery that will come with massive gains for them. That's exactly how the poor get poorer and the rich end up richer. Number 8, they care for wealth more than income. Most people see a 6 or 7-figure income coming their way and they immediately get the idea that their finances are in good shape. Remember that you can be making money and still be doomed to the poor dad fate.
Well, then clearly you know my dad better than I did.
What you need to look at in order to evaluate your financial status is not how much you're earning, but what you own. To make it short, Rich Dad would tell you to look at your assets, not your income statement. That's where your real wealth is. Number 9, freedom to them is more valuable than security. While a poor dad would tell you to find yourself a career where you can join a good company with a decent fixed income and where you can smoothly climb up the corporate ladder, the rich dad would have his focus set on owning the ladder. While the life of an entrepreneur might not have the same level of security that an employee might enjoy, the financial freedom that they are bound to achieve is their real safety net. Whereas the sense of security that employees so desperately hold on to is nothing but a total illusion that keeps them asleep at night before they wake up and go back to the rat race. Number 10, they learn from their failures. While most people see failure as a sign for them to stop trying and go back to their miserable normalcy, a rich dad knows more than anything that there is a single pattern that is key to the success of any process imaginable. It's called trial and error. It's the pattern that taught us to walk in our early years, pushed inventions forward, and makes the few people who are willing to take the fall and stand up again sit on fortunes that the rest of the world's population can only look at with envy, ignoring the fact that these people were the ones who stood tough and learned from their mistakes when the rest chose to take the safe road.
I can do this all day.
Number 11, they choose a path and walk it to the end. Getting a taste out of every pie might be tempting, and it could be wise to give yourself the freedom to do so in your early professional years until you find your passion. However, once you have found something that you're good at, like, or at least have the capability to learn, focus there until you master it before moving on to something else. If Bill Gates had entered the software field, then a few years later went to pursue a career as a chef, and then decided to become a diving instructor, it's safe to say that Microsoft would have never reached the level of dominance that it enjoys today. Now Bill Gates is free to invest his money in whatever field he finds worthy of the investment, whether it's genomics, housing, or charity work. Leave the shaky path for the poor dad and draw yourself a straight line to walk till the end. Number 12, they think differently about money. Rich dads know how money works, and it's not the way most people think it does. While the poor dads make bills their central focus, budgets take a completely different shape when rich dads set to lay them down. Bills should be your last concern. The first concern is you. Like Kiyosaki says, pay yourself first. Now, it doesn't mean that you take the money and spend it extravagantly before settling your bills. Set aside the money that you'll invest first, then let the bills be your motivation to go out and make more money. Worrying about bills and what you can't afford is a poor dad trait. Make your first question be, how can I afford this? And go out and earn it.
I don't even get that. What?
Number 13, they use the right words. There are countless academic geniuses without a penny to their name, and at the same time, there are barely educated people who got the right type of knowledge sink in their heads and were able to create fortunes out of it. It's plain and simple. A poor dad can have massive theoretical knowledge, but while he's too busy talking about math and chemistry, the rich dad would be more focused on terms like assets and return on investment.
My dad took away my roller skates.
In the end, they could both be discussing the same principal ideas, but how a rich dad's brain works is that it can skip over the useless theoretical terms and jump right to the real-life application. Number 14, they teach their children about money. Rich dads take the type of knowledge we just mentioned that they have accumulated throughout the years and they pass it on to their children, filling a gap that all educational systems tend to leave empty. While we learn math, history, and even economics, we still don't learn how to deal with money in any real sense, including how to translate our knowledge into a tangible improvement in our lives. Ultimately, poor dads make sure their children inherit their empty bank accounts and keep them empty. But rich dads care to pass down to their children the type of education that will actually give them a better life.
I built this for you.
Number 15, they give in order to receive. Whether we apply the rules of economics, religion, politics, or just plain logic, this principle preserves its validity. Anyone can lay back and ask for help, and they can coat this idleness in political terms by claiming that their well-being is the government's responsibility, or they can coat it with hatred by envying those who are better off. We're not here to discuss the layers of disguise that people cover up their laziness with, though. Rich dads know that these are all worthless, time-killing excuses that a lot of people would rather pass around than get up and go make things happen for themselves. They know that in the end, you have no one but yourself to rely on.
I'll do it myself.
That's it. These 15 points are the gist of the rich dad mentality. Go out there and own the world. And make sure to spread these lessons among those who you care for so you can all become great achievers. But don't let anyone hold you back. It's your journey in the end.